For the oral presentation portion of the informative research unit, you will have to present the research that you have gathered for your research paper in an oral presentation format. What you want to try to do is engage your audience by explaining exactly why this research is so important and how it's going to be relevant for the future of your field or for people in general. The requirements for this project are to have 5 slides. You don't want to have more than 5 slides because your presentation is only supposed to be about 5 to 7 minutes long. And in order to stay within time, 5 slides is really the maximum. You want to present your source material so that you lend authenticity to the presentation and the information that you are presenting to your audience. And you want to use visual aids to help your audience visualize what you're talking about and provide some imagery to illustrate your points. You also want to make sure that you use some enthusiasm so that your audience is engaged and understands that this information is something that you're passionate about. First, let's talk about incorporating sources. When presenting research, you should use what we call verbal footnotes. Verbal footnotes are phrases such as according to, research shows, studies have proven, that kind of indicate that you're bringing this information from a reliable source. You should also name that source and explain how the information is relevant to your topic and the thesis that you were trying to prove. In addition to using sources and verbal footnotes, you want to use some compelling visual aids, things that really help your audience see what you're talking about and explain the concepts that you're describing. This could be anything from a simple picture to a graph or a diagram. Finally, you want to bring passion to your presentation and explain the connections between all of the different pieces of information that you found for your research paper. You want to command the attention of the room by using good inflection, pronouncing everything clearly and concisely, and making sure that you explain what's so interesting about your particular topic. Try to engage your audience by either asking questions or maybe even using an interactive part. So let's talk a little bit more about engaging your audience. There are a couple strategies that you can use to start off your oral presentation. Think about it as the appetizer for the main event that is going to be your research. First of all, you could start off by being contrary, saying something that contradicts something that people generally hold to be true. For example, you could say that knowledge is unnecessary, that in fact it is education and application that is truly important for the truly wise person. So by contradicting a widely held belief, people will automatically either agree or disagree with you, and therefore they will be more engaged in what you have to say. Another way that you can involve your audience in what you're saying is by using a quote or some kind of a catchy catchphrase, something that will make people laugh and then encourage them to listen for the next joke, or see if they can get all of the references in your presentation. You can also start by capturing their imagination. Tell a story or paint a picture, explain something that had happened to you personally. Frame your research in terms of a personal narrative to help engage your audience and help them visualize an example of what you're talking about. So once you select your starter, you can begin designing the rest of your presentation. Whether you choose contrast, quotation, or imagination to engage your audience, it's sure to engage them and keep them paying attention for the entirety of your oral presentation. Once you've come up with a good starter, however, you're not done. You've got all of the research in the middle, and you've written an entire paper about that, so that part should be pretty easy for you. But then, of course, you have to close and help them remember exactly what it is you said and why it was important. Think of this as the dessert course. One way that you can circle back is by referring to what you talked about in your starter. So if you contrasted a widely held belief, you could go back and say, so it's not necessarily that knowledge is unimportant, but more that the way we use this knowledge truly shapes how smart we really are. So if you circle back to the beginning of what you were saying, then it will help your readers and your listeners make connections for your presentation and the information that you're providing. You can also ask the audience to do something with the information that you've shared. You can inspire them to take action and tell them, now that you know this, go out there and change the world. Inspire more people through the information that you've gathered, and explain why it's important for them to truly take these pieces of information that you've shared and pass them on. Finally, you could restate. You could end with a powerful image. Go back to the story that you were telling and say, where are they now? Inspire people through narrative. Give them an example, some kind of image that they can hold on to and carry with them so that when they're recalling your presentation, they know exactly what it is that you talked about. So whether you choose to connect, inspire, or restate, I hope that these tips for closing commentary have been helpful for you. If you have any questions about the oral presentation, please don't hesitate to contact me. Be more than happy to help you with this project. It's something that we're definitely going to work on a little bit next class, and then hopefully we'll be able to start getting these out of the way. So if you have any questions, again, let me know, and have an excellent afternoon.